Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Emmanuel, and today we're not going to be learning about any kind of boring programming rubbish. Today we're going to be learning about my experience. We're going to be hearing about my experience. And this is my first bootcamp experience. So guys, I'm super excited about sharing this story. If you guys are as well, go ahead and smash the like button. In fact, absolutely destroy it, all right? And if you haven't subscribed already and you find any kind of value in this, then maybe you just want to go ahead and just click on the subscribe button, all right? So yeah, also let me know in the comment section if you want to see more videos like this. I'm thinking of releasing videos like this a little bit more frequently, also for myself, so in the future I can just watch and know what happened in my past, So yeah, that's what it's about. So today's video, my first bootcamp experience. Man, it was crazy. It was terrible. But let's get to it. So my first bootcamp experience was sometime in 2019, and this was in a company called Andela. So basically what Andela was doing at the time was they had a fellowship program, where they would basically do sort of a recruitment to basically hire people that have some level of experience and then train them to become even better or world-class engineers, right? So that's what the fellowship program was about. So before you get in, you would go through some rigorous selection. In fact, if I remember correctly, the acceptance rate was about 0.7%. Yeah, it was really low. So if you're applying, most likely you will not get it. But, well, I decided to try it, and spoiler alert, I got it. Well, let's talk about the bootcamp experience. So, before we actually get to the bootcamp, I went through a series of, like tests, take-home assessments that for me took about, I think, 3 to 5 hours, I can't remember. And after that, we went through some interviews, and finally, I was invited to a 2-week bootcamp. And the way the bootcamp works is, at the end of each week, at the end of the first week, there will be like an eviction. So some people will fail and be let go. And at the second week, there will be a final pitch where a group of people will be selected. So these are the 2 weeks and the 2 things that happened. So let's talk about the first week. Now, before we actually resumed or started the boot camp, we were asked to basically design a website. So just go ahead and design. And at the time it was, I think, a voting system. We called it Politico. So yeah, just go ahead and design this in your house or whatever you want. If you want, you can copy, nobody cares. But yeah, just go ahead and design the front end, right? So yeah, I went ahead and I did that using HTML and CSS, which was, I would say, pretty easy. I was like, yeah, this is good. So we got in. So on the first day, I learned that for the first week, we're going to focus on back-end development. And the first question I asked myself is, what the heck is backend? What is API? Because I had absolutely no idea. So personally, I've not really been a fan of web development. I've mostly just loved iOS specifically, or maybe system design, like using maybe Python or something like that, or AI. But I never really liked web. So the only thing I knew about web was HTML, CSS, and just a teeny bit JavaScript. But then I applied. Anyhow, so they said we're supposed to build some APIs, and I had absolutely no idea how to do this. So I started to, make research, watch videos on YouTube. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube. I subscribed for a course that was taught by Mosh at the time, I think. And I basically learned how to create an API, all right? I remember all of these were happening, I think, between Tuesday and Friday, right? I had to basically finish implementing the backends or all the APIs for this project that we're building in the bootcamp. So I had to learn my JavaScript again, and I had to learn what it means to make an API. I had to learn what a server is. So building servers, building my APIs, middlewares, just doing a whole lot of things at the same time, right? So it was extremely exhausting for me. Like I would go home and I wouldn't sleep. Like my parents would just walk past my room and they'd be like, when your parents are like pitying you. So like they were super supportive. So yeah, it was really difficult. But then I I was able to learn, right? I learned how to create an API, thankfully. So when I did that, I went to the office, when you're walking all confident and then you get there, and then I started hearing some strange terminology. I started hearing things like, how many test coverage, or like, what's your test coverage? I was like, what? What is test coverage? So like people saying they have 100% test coverage, some people saying, mine is still like 70. And I was like, I don't even know what test is. Like, do you mean like testing your app? Yes, I tested my API, it worked. They were like, no, you have to write test to test your app, or you have to write code to test your code. So as you have guessed, I went home with serious anxiety. And then I had to learn something else. I had to learn how to write tests. So I had to work all night again, and I was just watching videos. How do I write tests? What frameworks do I need? What are the good conventions? What do I need to look out for when you're writing tests? You're testing your APIs, your middlewares, everything, right? And thankfully, I learned it. Very good. So when I learned it, I wrote a lot of tests, and I think I had about like 90-something% test coverage, which was pretty good. So again, I went to the office all proud, like, yeah, I know it. And then when I got there, I started hearing some strange things again. I was like, what design pattern are you using? And I was like, what do you mean design? What? And then they were saying like, like you're using MVC or MVVM or whatever design patterns are you using? And I was like, dude, I just created files. Like, I don't know what design patterns are. I just created. And then I have a friend, like till today, I would always be like very much grateful to him, Malik. So he really helped me. So he just sat me down, walked me through what it means to have a design pattern and how they communicate, right? So he basically just walked me through his own implementation, because this guy was done. Like I knew he was going to get in from like that day. So I didn't do anything like that. So when he walked me through it, I went home and I started to reorganize my files. So having like my views, my not views in this case because backend, but like my modals, my controllers, my validations, my middlewares, everything. I just started to separate them into like, just make it easier to understand and just neater, right? And thankfully I was able to do that, and all of these things happened within I think about 3 days. I think about 3 days or 4 days. And it was like, I think I didn't sleep for like 2 days. So when I was commuting to work, I would like doze off in the bus. Like, I needed constant noise to keep me awake. The moment everywhere is like quiet for like 2 minutes, I would just go like this. So it was really bad. But we had the demo to our, I can't remember what they're called, just like your team lead in the case. And he looked at my work and he was really impressed. And of course you should be, because I almost killed myself doing that. But anyhow, like, he looked at it, he loved the fact that I wrote tests, he saw the test coverage, he played around with the backend, tried to break it, like trying to put wrong input to make sure that the app would respond correctly. And surprisingly, my app was pretty solid, which was good. I was pretty proud of that. Then another thing that he pointed out was the fact that I, used proper design patterns. So my code was neat, and that was also good. So this is, I think, one thing that I'd like to share with you guys is the fact that it's good to receive feedback and, like, try to implement it. So I know, like, this is my own experience, but I also like encountered some people that on the first day, when they just heard about the things that we had to do, they just picked their bags and they went out. Like, I can't even do this. It's like, I know I'm going to fail, so I don't even want to bother, right? But so your mindset is very important in a situation like this. Are you willing to, try to push yourself to achieve something that you think you might fail at? Or do you have the mindset that failure is not even an option? I must get this, because that's what I said. I said, I must get it. So so that was good. The demo was very good. And then I think about half of we're about 80 to begin with, I think. But we were basically just slashed down to like 40. So there were like 40 people in the second week. I hope I'm correct. If I'm not, and you are in my cohort, then you can go ahead and correct me and put the correct numbers. But now we are in the second week, and the second week came with a whole lot more confusions. All right. So for the front end, like the second week, we had to build the front end of the website, and even though we had built the front end, remember we did it before we came into the bootcamp. This time we had to build the front end using React and Redux. So we had to use React and Redux, and then we had to connect our front end to the back end, that's to our API. And remember, before now, I had no idea what APIs meant. I had no idea what testing is. I had no idea what design patterns and how to use them. And now you're telling me I have to use something called React. How am I supposed to learn that in 1 week, or let's 4 days, because the 5th day was the pitch. So we had to get to work. I had to go and get some tutorials about React. How do I build React? Learning about components. And I actually remember we had, I think a TTL. I can't really remember what they're called, but we had this very amazing guy who helped teach us like React and Redux. And we had sessions every day where he would just basically break it down to the simplest form. So that was really helpful. So I was able to learn React and Redux in basically 3 days, I think. And just going and learning how to build components, how to build everything. And after learning, I had to replicate the website that I already had. So build it again using React. And at the same time, we also had to use Redux, to like manage our states and pass data throughout the website. So I had to learn all of these, and I was able to do that in a couple of days, even though it was really, really stressful. Like I remember there was this one time that I said, okay, this night I'm going to make sure that I don't sleep. I got like coffee beside me, I got some snacks, and I just got ready, like, roll up your sleeves. And then I opened my laptop, I took my coffee, I took some snacks, and then I just started dozing off like I was listening. Before I knew it, I was on my bed. Like, how did that happen? When I had to like make something available. So my parents would often come back and then, hey, are you done? Like parents are really good. So I learned React, thankfully. And then the same thing like last week happened. I went and showed them my website. So this is what I've done. I hope all is well. And they said, yes, you've done well, but you need to write test. I mean, wait, what? I have to test the website as well? Yes, apparently I had to do so. So I had to go learn about like writing tests for your website. I think it was Jest we were using at the time. So I basically just had to go learn how to write tests for my front end. And then thankfully I was able to do that. And we were now on the last day. So the pitch is on Friday, tomorrow. And they said one thing. They said, if your app doesn't run on a hosted server, then you would fail automatically. All right. So the instruction was finish your website, finish the front end, finish the back end, connect the front end to the back end, write test, write good code, make sure your app doesn't break, because the goal of the pitch is to break your app. All right. So make sure your app is solid, and then everything should be hosted online. Now I had everything, all checkboxes checked, except one thing. I had hosted my app, but it wasn't working. And I tried everything possible. I tried all night. It didn't work. I even slept off, like dozed off with my not working app. And the next day it was raining heavily, and I knew I had to get to the office for the pitch, which was, I think, about almost an hour commute, or about 40 minutes commute. So I had to, and since it was raining, it would be more difficult to get a bus. So like I was super stressed, and my app wasn't working. So I didn't know what to do. Like I've suffered for 2 weeks. What should I do? So I just took my laptop, put it in my bag, and I went to work, right? Went to the office, the Epic Tower as it's called. And when I got there, I was like super sad. I was like, oh man, like why is this thing not working? Why is it not working? I tried a lot of things. And because this was the first time I was hosting an app to Heroku, so I didn't know what was wrong. And then a friend, Tosin, was able to just help fix everything. So he looked at the problem, and he noticed that my app was hosted, but I had environment variables that I didn't set on Heroku. And because of that, the app was just crashing. So in just a few minutes, like literally like 2, 3 minutes, he just saw it, he fixed it, and they told all of us to just go down to a place where there's no internet. So you just couldn't work anymore. So just go there and wait for the judges to be ready for you, and then you go and present your work. So thankfully it worked, and I was so shaken that I couldn't even really test my app. I just had to believe that it worked. And then when it was time for my pitch, I just warmed up, like just shake it off, you know how they do in the movies. So I just did that, and then I sat down, I plugged in my laptop to the projector, and I was trying to run the app, but something wasn't working. And then someone said, "Are you sure you did this yourself?" And I was like, "Dude, I suffered. You dare not tell me I didn't do this myself." So it's like, I know that I did this myself, and this must work. So I was able to just get that working. I did the demo. They told me put this wrong character here, just basically trying to destroy my app. And thankfully, it worked. And they were able to test. They asked questions. They knew that I was able to prove that I wrote it myself. And they said, "Good job." And then I went. So like when I went, I was just shaking, like, when your hands are just shaking and you don't even know what to do. Like, just finished one serious exam. And that was it. That was my bootcamp experience. Now, I know while I've described this bootcamp experience, it sounds like super stressful or like, I don't want to do this. But I just want to tell you one thing. The reason I think it was this difficult for me is that I had absolutely no prior experience. And this is one mistake that a couple of people make before they go into a bootcamp. They just go in and expect to learn everything. Now, the thing about bootcamp is everyone is packing information in you. Like, everyone is telling you to do this, you're learning about this, you're learning this technology, you have to learn this tutorial, and they're not necessarily teaching it to you. So you may have a couple of like tutoring, like where people explain certain concepts, but generally speaking, you have to learn it yourself. You have to open up your laptop, open up tutorials, go to YouTube, go to Google, go to Stack Overflow. You have to just do many of these things yourself. So it can be really difficult, but if you want to make things easier for yourself, then just go ahead and learn. So usually before you go for boot camps, they would tell you what to expect, like what kind of technologies you will be using. Some may tell you the kind of websites you will be building. So you want to, just go ahead and make some research before then, learn what technologies you're going to be using, and just learn it before then. All right, like. This was my experience, but I know people that just came into the bootcamp and they just did it. Like, they just, okay, so after they're just writing your code, I appreciate it. Some people were even adding animations. I was like, what? I'm trying to just build the website and you are adding animations, button flying up and down. Man, so yeah, if you practice before the bootcamp, then you would probably be those people who are adding like extra effects to their website. So that's one tip. Go ahead and practice before you go into your bootcamp so that it's a little bit easy for you. Now, apart from that, there are a couple of things that, because Andela was trying to hire, right? It's not just a bootcamp where they train you and you go. Andela wanted to pick the best out of the crowd. So they were looking for certain skills. One of them was, not one of them, but they were very much interested in your soft skills. So do you accept feedback? How do you communicate? Are you professional in the way you carry yourself? Do you copy? And this is one thing that, in fact, if you copy code, you will be evicted one time. So Andela hates copying. And I think that makes sense because you shouldn't just, because you hear people talking about like bootcamp, programmers go and copy paste, even though that is true. But one thing they don't tell you is that most programmers, at least the good ones, when they copy and paste, they know exactly what they're pasting. This is extremely important. So when you're copying code, it's important for you to copy what you understand. Don't just copy and paste and it works and okay, you just move on. If you do that kind of thing, then you would end up having like pieces of code that aren't doing anything. You definitely, most likely will introduce bugs that you're not even aware of. So make sure you understand your code. Copying is not bad. But if you copy something you don't understand, then that is extremely bad, all right? So be very much accept feedback, be willing to grow generally. So just taking my story for example, whenever I encountered new things that I didn't know, I didn't just say, okay, I'm just going to present it to the team lead, and maybe if they don't talk about it, then it passes. You know, when you say, I know this app is bad, but hopefully the QA don't see it. And then you go ahead and create the build and you're like, and then the QA misses it and you're like, yes, I didn't do it. Don't have that kind of attitude. So what you should do instead is, oh, this is wrong, so I have to do it. I have to fix this so that I basically deliver quality output, all right? So just think of the code as yourself. If you write rubbish, then you will be seen as rubbish. No, I don't know if that makes sense. But anyhow, just write good code and always try as much as possible to deliver great quality product, all right? Then another tip that I have for you is try as much as possible to make friends. Even though this is not the time to make friends, because dude, you're gonna be trying to like build something. Everyone is trying to. So no one is like, what did you have for breakfast? Do you want to hang out tonight? No one has time for that. So what I mean by making friends is, if you have a problem, feel free to reach out to people. Okay, bro or sis, I'm having this issue. Did you face it? How did you deal with it? Okay, I'm supposed to write some tests, but I don't know how to test this. I can't remember the terminologies in the web. Well, I don't know how to test this controller. How can I do it? How can I test this nested whatever, something that's inside something? How can I do a test that goes to the endpoint and test the response? I don't know. You can basically just ask questions, and they could just show you a single block of their code or just give you a breakdown of how to think about it. And then this can help go a long way, right? So like giving my example, if I didn't get like help from Malik about like the structures or how to structure your data, and then that would have cost me a few more hours or days to figure it out and then properly and correctly structure my code. Even though I made the mistake in the first week and the early part of the second week where I was learning, testing, and everything by myself, all right? But then again, it's also important for you to take ownership of your work. You cannot expect everyone to do something for you because again, everyone is busy in the bootcamp. So unless you find someone who is already done, you may have to learn it yourself. But just go ahead and ask some questions and ask intelligent questions. So you should go with an idea and not just say, how do I write tests? And then hope that they give you all the answers, okay? So this was my bootcamp experience. It was really rough for me. And then again, just like I said, it was because I didn't really have good experience. But for you, if you go ahead and do the things I've said, so go ahead and practice before you go into the bootcamp, ask questions when you make friends, make sure you accept feedback, and always try to improve your work, okay? And then, if you do all these things, I think you should be pretty good. Unless I forgot some points, because basically I just came up with this on the spot. But anyhow, this is my experience. If you have questions or you want to know more in depth things that happened, then go ahead and ask me in the comments. I'd be happy to respond. And that's it. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.